What is up, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, day traders, closet swing traders? Hope you guys are doing absolutely fantastic. Hope you guys are surviving a little just sideways chop market. But we got Albert in the house. Good morning. We got Bill to join us. We got Cindy, Corey, Frank. Good morning to Greg, K, Jeff is in the house. Good morning, Joe, Lauren, Marius, Mike is Peter. Good morning, Tim. We got Win in the house. All my people out on YouTube land. Good morning to all of you two as well. We got Richard Jet, Santilla. We got Anthony, all my lurkers in the background. That's okay. I still love you. Hit that like and subscribe button. And yes, we have jobless numbers come out. They came in light. Market was kind of liking it still. We still have yesterday being a retest gap. We still have not taken out this 518.59 yet. Good news for the Bulls, though. We are opening, at least at this point, above yesterday's VPOC. So I got 517.28. And then where did we reject yesterday? We rejected this 517.73. So right into the previous day's VPOC was kind of the resistance. Really good spot for a retest. And now we have to wait and see which direction we want to break. If we could get back up into this 517, we'll call it 517.80, but somewhere up in that zone, we are a little bit more likely to break out of it at this point because this would be our second retouch into it from yesterday. So that's a little bit weaker of a resistance than it was yesterday. And we got yesterday's support now still at 517.28, still inside day at the higher end range. So we're looking to use that as support. We'll see if we could hold on to that level, but tight range on both directions. And until we break through one of them, that's going to give us kind of the next signal if we are able to take out this pretty decently strong resistance that we got somewhere around 518.67. And that would push us to some higher levels. Next one being 520.36, the one after that 522. But if not, that potential rotation is still on the table. So I still holding those puts. I almost I knew yesterday was going to be like a little bit more of a retest. I was like, should I just lock in some gains on this drop down yesterday? And I was like, I got some time on this thing. So let me, instead of me just playing around, if we start moving higher, we'll sell out and just take the loss. If it does start to roll down, then all right, we kind of know which way. But we do have just sideways chop market. We'll see what happens. We got the Qs. Q's opening in a fairly good position. Really good, actually, on the Qs. Still inside day from yesterday, but again, we have yesterday's VPOC now closing at 440.12. The day before that, a key VPOC on this one is 440.57. Again, just depends on where we want to open, but otherwise we're above a lot of kind of that key support or key resistance that we were looking at. And then the next spot on Qs, I got 443.02. So Qs looking a little bit stronger than SPY today out of the gate. So we might want to be a little bit more tech focused. Today we got TLT. Oh, TLT. That's down a little bit. It is a retest gap. Support on this one should be about 89.78. And we got $90.14 is our resistance. But again, bonds gapping down a little bit. So right now, the bond people not really buying into this mini rally that we're having. We'll see what happens when the market opens. We got RM came in with earnings. They did beat on earnings per share by 19%, so 0.059 cents earnings per share. And then reported revenue, they did come in with a $62 million beat with a hefty gap down. Was it the forecasts? Trade desk to rally around 20% here, 10 analyst forecast. Yep. So yeah, weaker forecast for, which has been a little bit of the narrative for a lot of these companies when they've been reporting. And again, we could just be lowering the bar for the next time. That's very possible. But they fell 8% in pre-market trading Thursday as the chip designer downbeat annual revenue. So they're bringing down the annual revenue Forecast cooled some of the enthusiasm around the stock following its AI powered jump in recent months. So a little bit of a potential weaker guide on ARM. The good news, maybe a lot of the selling is over with. It is a retest gap. I'm looking for somewhere to hold around 98.87 and then 98.28. Let's see if we got how far did we come down? We actually got down pretty far, 95.35. Let's see where that lines up to. If anything, 95.35. Yeah, wow, that got scary. You got the lower level. If we get through all of that again, we still got 93.48, which has not been retested, but it is a little retest gap. Wouldn't mind trying a fade on this one. Let's get this one a little bit higher on the list as well. And then if you guys got tickers, you could throw those in. Roblox reported earnings today. Another one that came in, they did beat earnings per share. They did miss on revenue. So revenue was a 12% miss from what was expected. And it's another company that did lower guidance. I got to scroll down on the chart for this one. So massive, massive gap down this morning on Roblox with just weaker forecast. The one thing they said, and they just had their conference call, but the one thing they said was it was how they phrase it, unseasonal slowness. So it's like, well, it was seasonal. Okay. We get it. We could throw those rotations. Every company's built a little different, but they were expecting a little bit higher. So that's definitely looking a little bit weak. As far as trade wise goes, we are far. I mean, this is a massive gap. Uh, I don't know if I'd be comfortable going long, but this is a decent spot for shorts to take some profits. So somewhere around $28, $29. After that, 27.89. That's been a spot that has been already retested. That could get a little weaker, and then we could see if we start to break that. 27.42, 26.79. So we'll see. I don't know after this gap, after this weakness, the market's just opening. A lot of bulls trapped on this thing. So, and there was some selling into this, so that it could be a little spot for some of those shorts to say, okay, cool. We made it all the way back down to this little neckline of this potential double bottom. Let's take some profits. I don't know how excited the bulls are to get into this one today, even for that fade. So I think if you are going to try to fade this one, you're probably going to want to be in this thing fairly a short time, smaller targets, maybe try to get the 1.2, 1.4 on a Roblo. But if you do like it longer term, it's not, I mean, you're not buying it at all time highs. I just don't know if today would be the day you really want to buy it with all that volume. Now above you, that's going to be resistance. You got all that volume. If you get back to 40, and there's not much really in the way from stopping you from a much further downside. So Roblo a little bit on the weaker side today. Lauren wants Airbnb. Santillo says ARM is a buy. At least for a day trade. I mean, you do have a little support down there. Airbnb. You got the 200 approaching. The numbers weren't horrible. Forecast wasn't great. But earnings per share, they're saying you did beat by 18 cents, 78% higher than expected. You're beating by $81 million to the surprise side for Airbnb. But we have seen a little bit in terms of lower guidance across the board, but especially in the travel sector, which is an interesting time for Airbnb and a lot of the travel companies because we're just about to hit summer. You would assume that some of their guidance would be higher, honestly. Like, hey, yeah, we're expecting good travel this year. Are we not? I don't know. But you do have the 200, so it's getting close to if you're interested in Airbnb. You do have a decent level of support, a little bit lower, but 144.84. Let's see where we got to. What was the low of this move? We got down to 142.74. So we've already bounced back a little bit, 142.74. Yep, right into that to the volume zone. That was also below the 200 at one point. I do think that this should act as a little. The earnings weren't bad, but I think somewhere down in this little box zone. So 144.54 and then to 141.84 should be a little support. You have resistance right above you. It's not much, but you got 146.64 and then up to 148.44. If we could get through that again, we might see a little bit more of a recovery. But I do think at some point the numbers weren't that bad. They were fairly decent numbers, but we've also made a big run up into those earnings. So again, those higher bars they gotta perform, and there's a lot of people already profitable in this thing. And I think this is probably more buy opportunity than is just panic selling on that one. Let's get this one higher up. I wouldn't mind trying a fade on this one, especially with that 200 right below us. I can't get too mad at that one. All right, we got Pan W. Probably let some of that morning chop just alleviate anybody trapped in that thing. Just panic sell, lock some gains if they have them. Pan W. Did they get news? CICC initiates Palo Alto networks with outperform rating. Why is the upgrades always bad news? Anytime we get the upgrades, so they're upgrading them to 328, so higher. They're going to take the Nancy Pelosi side on this one. I think she's still holding positions. I didn't see any reports that she sold, but we got Pan W, a little bit of support maybe off that upgraded guidance, but upgrade, I should say, 296.50, somewhere in that zone. Could be a bounce spot. This is a bearish gap and go though, so probably wouldn't want to play this one bullish today. If we could get through that 296.65, the next spot we got is probably back down to this 293.82 zone. And then we got really good support down there. So it is a bit of a bearish gap and go. Would probably like to stick to the bear side on this trade. That's a lot of volume we're trapping. The question is, how far do we go down? Especially if the market does want to rally today. That's not going to help shorts, but I would lean more short on this one for sure. And then if we get through some of those, we also got some moving averages coming in. And again, that takes us to 292. Somewhere in that zone we might be able to get to. I don't know if it's going to be the easiest short in the world, though. But I do like the fact we absolutely took out that volume candle. Let's draw a fib on this one, too. So let's say this move started around here. We ended right around here. So you also have that, just to add to it, you got that 296.40 is the 50% retracement. Maybe some bull step in there. And then, yeah, right around the bigger support, 293.43 is also the 618. So right around that zone, too. So there's a couple buy spots in there. And a little bit of a gap down on that one, though. Meta looking a little bit double topish pre-market. Meta. One, two, three, four, 5, 6 days in a row. Absolutely beast moding. We still we kind of closed. I mean, we ran into this candle. I still got my next target on this one, probably a little higher, 482.24. And then really for me to close this gap, I got to get up to like 491.59. So still got a little bit more room, but we definitely have some bulls that have been just absolutely piling in. If we do have a little rotation here, you got double bottom, I would say, somewhere around 470.44. Maybe this could be a little bit of a higher low as well. But pre-market, double top-ish. All of that volume that's coming in. 473.35. We got VPOC. So there's a lot of support on this one. And yeah, we're just kind of rejecting that mini volume 474.46, somewhere in that zone. So we do have a little element of double top. The one thing, if you are bearish on Meta, you do have a lot of bulls that are profitable in this one. So maybe catch some of that just pullback. But I do think it's more of a pullback than it is a sell. Especially as it's got another $5-6 to the higher side. Yep. You're saying the hourly chart? Well, this candle's still open, and we are still right at that present VPOC. So yeah, again, if this one wants to come down, it could. I mean, that's a interesting spot. Nice little. It does look double topish. You also have on the hourly. Technically, you got 1, 2, 3, 4. This would be your fifth green candle in a row. But then we also have support coming in at 471.15. So not much to the downside unless you think it could break that. Then we got probably 469.27, and then maybe back to this 468.31, which I think would be kind of the terminal rate on this one. So yeah, the range to the downside, I don't know if I'm loving the risk to reward on the play, but that does so far look like double topish. And again, if we start opening with this inverted hammer, and then we also got 472.73, we're opening below that. All right, well, you don't really want to see that thing get back up and maybe throw your stop high of the day, something like that. We'll see. All right, we got Baba and JD. Baba and JD. Out of curiosity, let's draw a fib on this. Baba has shown us that we could get, which I mean, people forgot. People forgot that it was even possible for Baba to get above the 200 because we were so far down below it. So it's shown us that we could get above it. We had a really, really good move there. This has been a pullback into the 50. We got halfway in between the 50 and the 618. So you got some bulls maybe interested to come in there. This gap is back above the 200, which is good. We got to close above it. Yesterday's candle, though, was a gap down. It was a retest gap. So you could make the case in that this is just all retest. Today is a retest gap up. So at open, I'll tell you what I like and how I'd probably look to play this one, but it does look good. I don't know if I want to be the first one to buy it, just because there was some buyers yesterday. See if we get a little pullback. It could hold here, and then you got this spot here. I kind of don't want this one to hit. With this type of gap, knowing that this was a decent pullback range, we are already above the 200 again. And not only are we gapping above yesterday's VPOC, but also the day before. I kind of want a small pullback on this one, nothing too crazy. And then if we're able to get some kind of bullish momentum out of here, this would be an interesting spot. So see if we get the pullback into, let's see what price that is, roughly 79.20. So any pullback into that, the next target higher, well, we're going to probably run into resistance here. I'm assuming somewhere around 79.95, but real target for me on this one will probably be about $80.31. And if we could get a little bit higher, 81.28. So there's not much in the way of pushing this thing higher. Like we could get a decent return if we could get that little pullback. So I got to see that pullback first, but that looks decent. Not too bad. And we are above that 200, which is good. These moving averages down here, the smaller time frames, they're still a little bit far. So until these things creep up a little bit more, that's when I think we get that much bigger move if it's going to happen. So we still have to wait for probably a little while for these things to creep up higher. But otherwise, that is a good gap. I like that fact that we're taking out 2 days of VPOCs on this one with a little bit more room on it. Let's go to JD. Does JD look better than Baba? That's absolutely fantastic inverted head and shoulders. Also a retest gap. It's good. Into this resistance as well. It's a pretty big resistance. I'd want to see us I want to start clearing 32.81. You're probably going to have anybody that was buying the dip on this one. This is a decent spot for them to take some gains. you also kind of want to see this thing hold 32.65. If we start breaking that, you're looking for more of a bigger retest down to 32.11. But depends on where this one actually wants to open. If we could get higher than that 32.81, we have a decent push higher. So same thing on this one. And again, this one has the ability to break out, and JD could go crazy. Let's get this one higher on the list as well. But at open, I'll probably be patient on this one, see if we get that pullback first. Or if we're above 32.81, we'll see if we can take a breakout somewhere, wait for a little pullback, and then go from there. But JD looks good. Actually, I think JD looks a little bit better than Baba potentially. Depends on where this thing opens, though. Okay. GDX. Mm, good consolidation at the highs, not bad. Retest gap from yesterday into today, and you are opening it at technicals are okay on this one. I mean, I would say news, and then if the dollar starts trading higher, things like that would affect this one. Otherwise, if we're going technicals on it, this is a retest gap into resistance. So I think this one probably fades. Look for like 34.29 and then look for like 34.15. If you get into there, that would be interesting. But so far, at least we are putting in lower highs and then higher lows. So just a lot of pennant pattern consolidation. We got those moving averages creeping up. And we've been consolidating at the essentially the highs with big resistance longer term here as well. So to the upside, I don't know if we have that much yet. I think we probably need a little bit more consolidation. Again, the 200s all the way down at $30, $30.02. That's got to creep up a little bit more. So I'd probably see a little more sideways consolidation on this one, unless the dollar starts going crazy or the yen starts going crazy. Taylor says arms a buy. We got NQ. Um, yep. So this is going to be relative to the Qs, but futures look decent. The Qs look good. NQ, I think we have room up till about 18,276. And again, Qs do look a little bit stronger than the SPY does today. So not bad, not bad. And both of them have a little bit of room to run. Looks like a little 3-day pennant pattern. If we could get above that high wave from yesterday, that would be fantastic. And then again, first target would be into this 18,276, 277. And then if we could go crazy today, 18,421 could be on the table for NQ. Richard says, when referring to jobless claims, you said light. Is that good? Or is it bad referring to the report? So it depends on who you are, Richard. Yeah. if you're an American citizen trying to have a job, no, there's less people hiring. So there's more people there's more people claiming they don't work. So for the economy standpoint, bad. What does this market really care about right now is just interest rates. So anything that we could get a signal that Jerome Powell is going to rate, and it comes down to how many times he's going to lower rates this year. Is he going to lower? We don't want to see him start to waver and go, yeah, now we're going to put potentially we could go higher on rates. We had a few Fed people speaking yesterday, and they were kind of in that, every time they said something to the bear side of like, yeah, it could stay higher longer. There's still potential. It just depends on the data. All of those things are going to say to the stock market, well, we're not maybe out of the higher rates. I think we are. I don't think they're going there, but they keep going data dependent, and that's why these reports that 5-6 years ago probably wouldn't have such an impact on the market are having a huge impact on a day-to-day basis. So yeah, for the stock market, as soon as we can see that first, like we see the light of like, hey, the rates are coming down, the market's gonna love it, and that's what we're playing on to. So yeah, if you're in the stock market, you want more people unemployed because that means that Jerome probably has to act a little bit sooner, as he doesn't want to kind of just crash the economy. But obviously, if you're one of those people not working, then You don't really want to be in that. You don't want to be that person. Palantir, PLTR. I don't know why I put a little. Did I do that? A little exclamation, like I was yelling, Palantir. I did. We did, I sold some puts. I think some of you other guys sold some puts on this one yesterday. So far, I think we sold them at the bottom of yesterday's range, which was fantastic. Otherwise, Palantir probably a little oversold again. Really good report. Long term, I still like them. Um, look for resistance. Our first point of resistance, 21.85. You almost have to give these things a 3-day rule. That's a big, massive bearish gap down. You're right at the 100. So decent spot. We bounced off the 100 before. We could easily bounce off it again. And then we got the 200 coming in for 1924. So the puts we sold were underneath this at the $19 range. And I think we gave it, I don't know, a month time, something like that. But we shall see. Otherwise, yeah, trying to hang in there. You do have a little bit of a potential bear trap underneath that 100. Realistically, it was just kind of coming down to retest this. So yeah, for a swing trade, maybe if we want to get a little higher today than yesterday's high, so 21.72 ish, somewhere in that zone. And then you could probably play this one pretty tight on stops, $21, come a little bit lower, $20.76. But there's a big gap to fill. Usually the gap and go to the bear side is a little bit tougher, and we do have resistance, so could take a little longer. But we've seen things like Palo Alto right after they reported huge volume. Almost the next day, we take it out bullish. So watch that candle. That's going to give you your sign of like, okay, cool. If we could break this, yeah, we got a resistance at 23.20. But more than likely, we probably come up to retest this 25, which has been a very, very strong kind of resistance on it. So far, just kind of hanging out. Decent little location where it's opening above not only yesterday's, but the day before's. Actually, no, slightly below that one. Yeah, we got to get. I think 2 seconds ago was a higher, but 21.55. We got to get above that. Otherwise, probably chop, and that's the high wave you kind of want to hang into for any chance of quicker reversal on that. Uber, what I got, like less than a minute left. Uber with a little gap up. Again, yesterday was a retest gap. Uh, we're above our first point of resistance, 66.38. I got another resistance coming in, 67.27. We're going to start to get heavy in the resistance zones, but you still got the 100 all the way up at 69.07. That's probably final target for today. See if there's we're still inside day. See if there's a mini pullback somewhere if it hasn't happened already, and we'll go from there. Otherwise, everybody on YouTube land, I appreciate you joining us each and every day. But that was the morning bell. So unfortunately, I got to disconnect. You guys are incredible. We will stream live every day from 9 to 9:30 a.m. Make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe. We'll catch you guys.